Good morning, everybody. Welcome into Morning in the Word. Glad that you've joined us today. Today we continue our journey through the book of Hosea, and we come to Hosea chapter 9 and chapter 10, as this week we are doubling up a couple of chapters. There's a lot in this section for you to read, and it's a lengthy reading, so I won't take very long in our Morning in the Word. I'll just give you a couple of things specifically to look for and turn you loose to read through this yourself. One of the things that's brought up at the beginning of this chapter 9 is the idea of God's punishment. And there's a lot of question, a lot of controversy, a lot of discussion in scholarly circles, of which, frankly, I'm not a part, but I hear rumors of. A lot of rumors about, a lot of discussion about how does God punish? There is an attitude, a thought out there that all punishment is directly from the hand of God. There's a thought out there that when a person is being punished for something, it is God directly causing every one of those things to happen. The other end of the spectrum is that some say that, God is loving and God doesn't actively do that. And so what we have is God withdrawing his protection, and the things that would be naturally happening are happening. If you think about what would be naturally happening to us in the world if God wasn't protecting us, and what if God stopped protecting us and all those things started happening? Well, they argue that in a manner of speaking, they could say, well, this is God causing it because it's what God was preventing, and now he's choosing not to prevent it. Others fall somewhere in the middle, that sometimes God directly punishes, sometimes God passively punishes by withdrawal. It's not an argument to get into right now, but it is something to know about and to think about when you read this chapter, because that's what's happening in this. God is saying bad things are going to happen to them at the hands of other people. And it is very likely that these are the bad things that these other people have been wanting to do and trying to do, but God has kept them from doing it. And now he is finally fed up and is going to either cause those bad people to do bad things to his people or allow. And either way, the bottom line is they're being punished, rightly so, for their rejection of God. But it is an interesting thought, and maybe one that you'll give some consideration to today, that where would you be if God withdrew his loving protection from you today? Give that some thought. Notice those lines, and I think you'll find that interesting. A second thing that came to mind for me as I was studying this morning are the fruit analogies that he uses. He uses analogies of figs and grapes and vines. And in most of these, what he's talking about is what we do with prosperity. What we do with prosperity. I want you to pick up this theme as you read through this, but God says, the more I blessed you, the more sinful you became. And the reality is that is not an Israel problem. That's a human problem. And I think that you and I can agree that we see that in our own lives as well. We see that in our own world, that all too often, the more blessed we are, the more blessed people are, the more their true nature comes out, and the more they expose the realities of who they really are. And it is a sad thing, because every good and perfect gift comes from God. James, the brother of Jesus, wrote that in his book. And so when we have good things, when we have blessings, they are directly from God's hand. And let's think about how oftentimes the more blessed we are, the more greedy we are, the more wicked we are, the more unrighteous we are. And what a statement that is, to say to God, you gave me more, and I'm going to use it for bad, what you intended for good. It's a sad reality that's not limited to the ancient people of Israel. And one third point that I'll bring you is, notice the change in the reaping and sowing metaphors that Hosea has been using. Hosea has already been using the sow the wind, reap the whirlwind. And he's going to talk here about what happens when you sow unrighteousness. But notice that he makes a turn in this, and he calls on the people to make a change. And he says, no, this is what you need to do. Sow righteousness so that you can reap faithful love. There's a lot there to unpack. And in that section, I think you'll find a lot to consider. But at least it's a good thought exercise for us. In the course of this day, am I using God's gifts for God's glory or using them for my pleasure? In the course of this day, am I sowing righteousness or am I sowing the wind? And what does that tell me about what I'm likely to reap tomorrow? I hope you have a good day. I hope you enjoy your reading this morning and look forward to being back in here with you tomorrow. God bless.